The West Wing briefing room of the Department of Justice gleamed under the bright lights, its recent renovation lending an air of crisp authority to the space. American flags stood tall on either side of the podium, their stars catching the glare, while the DOJ crest loomed proudly behind. It was a scene set for impact, and Pam Bondi did not disappoint. Her reappointment as Attorney General had been announced less than a week ago, yet here she was, stepping into the spotlight with the force of a thunderclap. Her navy suit was impeccable, her posture unyielding, and as she approached the microphone, the gathered reporters fell silent, sensing the weight of what was to come. "Today," Bondi began, her voice even but carrying the sharpness of a gavel, "the United States Department of Justice is filing formal charges against the leadership of New York State." The room froze, pens hovered over notebooks, cameras whirred, and a collective intake of breath rippled through the crowd. She continued, unflinching, "We are charging Governor Kathy Hochul, Attorney General Letitia James, and DMV Commissioner Mark Schroeder with obstruction of federal immigration enforcement, misuse of state resources, and harboring individuals known to have violent criminal records. This is not a negotiation. This is not a warning. This is war." Chaos erupted, flashes popped like gunfire, reporters shouted over one another, and the air buzzed with confusion. Bondi raised a hand, her calm demeanor cutting through the storm. "I'll take your questions, but first, you need to hear from someone more important than me." From the side of the stage stepped a woman dressed in black, her eyes weary yet burning with a quiet fury. Her name was Tammy Noble, and she carried the weight of a mother's grief. Bondi introduced her softly. "This is an angel mom. Her daughter, Kayla Hamilton, was raped and murdered in 2022 by a known MS-13 member, an illegal immigrant who'd been released into the U.S. and relocated to Maryland. Tammy took the microphone, her hands trembling but her voice steady. Kayla was 20, just turned 20. He was supposed to be deported. Instead, he was given a plane ticket. Now my daughter is dead." The room fell silent, the gravity of her words sinking in. Bondi returned to the podium, holding up a thick folder labeled State Non-Compliance, New York Department of Justice, File Number 43. "We've reviewed over a dozen cases tied directly to the New York State administration, cases where federal detainers were ignored, where violent offenders were released without a whisper to DHS, where political ideology trumped the rule of law. This isn't a disagreement. This is defiance, and it ends today." A reporter broke the hush, shouting, "Are you politicizing immigration policy?" Bondi locked eyes with him, her gaze piercing. I'm enforcing the law, something New York's leadership stopped doing." She laid out the case with relentless precision. Letitia James publicly condemned federal enforcement efforts, yet internal memos show her office knowingly declined to cooperate with ICE on over 20 flagged cases. Kathy Hochul authorized emergency shelter funding exclusively for those without immigration documentation, bypassing federal oversight. Mark Schroeder at the DMV ordered a bypass of verification protocols, ensuring ICE couldn't track undocumented individuals applying for licenses. She held up a stack of documents, dates, signatures, receipts, each page a brick in the wall of evidence. This isn't a theory. This isn't partisanship. This is proof. The press conference concluded with a statement that echoed like a gunshot. We are a nation of laws, and no one, not governors, not attorneys general, gets to pick and choose which ones to follow. Headlines exploded across the country. Bombshell, AG Pam Bondi files criminal charges against NY leaders. Letitia James, Hochul accused of harboring illegal migrants with criminal records. Social media split down the middle. Supporters hailed Bondi as a savior. Critics screamed abuse of power. Inside the DOJ, however, the war room was already in motion. Investigators had spent months compiling data, emails, surveillance, leaked communications. One folder alone documented the relocation of 45 undocumented individuals with gang affiliations from New York to other sanctuary states, some with records of drug trafficking, assaults, even murder warrants from their home countries. Each had been released under New York's sanctuary policies. That evening, Bondi met with her internal task force in a secured room on the 7th floor. The space hummed with activity. Boxes of documents stacked high, monitors flashing redacted files, maps highlighting relocation routes. "Tomorrow," she said, her tone clipped, "I want you to subpoena every communication between James's office and federal immigration task forces. No redactions, no delays." A staffer raised a question. "And Hochul?" Bondi paused, flipping through a briefing. "She signed off on housing and relocation order. If we find a direct line of funding to anyone with a criminal record, we bring it all to court." Another asked about Schroeder. "He ordered a system override that blocked ICE from flagging undocumented residents at the DMV," Bondi replied. "That's aiding and abetting. We treat it as such. No politics, just prosecution." The press dubbed it scorched earth, and they weren't wrong. Bondi didn't care about the headlines, though. She cared about Kayla Hamilton, about every family like Tammy's who'd buried a child because a politician chose narrative over duty. As the lights dimmed in the briefing room, the case's first ripples spread across the nation. Debated in living rooms, dissected on podcasts, argued in Reddit threads. Some called it reckless, ruthless, radical. Others called it justice. By dawn, the DOJ building buzzed like a hive. Inside the war room, analysts pored over evidence. Boxes of documents, classified servers, highlighted maps. Bondi stood before a screen, flashing redacted emails and audit trails. "We follow the paper, and we follow the money," she said. Her lead analyst tapped a file. "We found 46 separate transfers from state-funded accounts to unvetted relocation programs. Most went to private nonprofits acting as shell pass-throughs." Bondi reviewed the list. Human Bridge, Safe Routes, Community First Initiative. On paper, they offered shelter. In reality, they moved undocumented individuals quietly across state lines, no federal coordination required. "This is systemic," Bondi muttered, "and it's deliberate." A forensic accountant added, "Some beneficiaries had known criminal affiliations, at least 18 confirmed MS-13 members or associates." Bondi's voice dropped. "Send it to the indictments team. Cross-reference with Hochul's budget authorizations." Then came the big break. An intelligence officer entered with a sealed folder. Encrypted communication between Letitia James's chief of staff and a New Jersey-based immigration attorney. "Hold ICE response until relocation is complete," Bondi read aloud, her eyes narrowing. "They acknowledged ICE detainer attempts, then advised release anyway. We have intent." She snapped the folder shut and called a press conference for noon. The briefing room was packed, the tone no longer introductory, but prosecutorial. Yesterday, we brought charges, Bondi began. Today, we show you why. She projected an email onto the screen. Press will cover with humanitarian angle. Ensure phrasing avoids legal jargon. The room gasped. These aren't clerical oversights, she said. These are strategic narratives wrapped around illegal operations. Another slide appeared. DMV logs showing over 5,000 flagged applications manually overridden in 6 months, each flagged by federal databases for unresolved criminal backgrounds, each cleared by state order. A reporter asked, "Where does Governor Hochul fit in?" Bondi answered calmly, "Her office signed emergency contracts to transport high-risk individuals to out-of-state shelters without vetting or interagency notice. That's misuse of emergency powers and obstruction." A staffer passed her a note. Bondi smiled slightly. "We have banking records now, wire transfers from the state treasury to nonprofit directors with known connections to immigration fraud. Some have already disappeared." The press scrambled. She ended with a single line. "We will find them." Behind the scenes, her team moved faster than the headlines. That evening, Bondi signed 19 more subpoenas, 4 to current state employees, 5 to former staffers now at advocacy nonprofits, 1 to a state judge who'd denied federal detainer cooperation 3 times in a month. Each thread led back to the same chain. Approve, relocate, silence. No oversight, no accountability, only political cover. As night fell, Bondi returned to her office. Her aide entered quietly. "Ma'am, the White House wants a briefing." Bondi didn't look up from her files. "They'll get one when I finish this job." She pulled up a photo of Kayla Hamilton, taped to her wall beside a quote, "A nation that forgets its own children has no future." Outside, protesters gathered, some defending her, others accusing her of racism and extremism. The media clashed over intent, but no one could deny the documents. Bondi leaned back, eyes on the growing list of names and files. "This isn't politics," she whispered. "This is justice." The storm broke on the third day, a federal courtroom in Manhattan now the battleground. Bondi stood flanked by prosecutors, her suit crisp, her jaw set. The first public hearing began, charges read aloud under oath. Violation of federal immigration enforcement statutes, obstruction of justice, facilitation of criminal relocation. Letitia James was absent, her lawyers requesting a delay citing inflammatory political context. The judge denied it. "The law isn't partisan," he said. "It's mandatory." Outside, protesters and supporters clashed across barricades. Inside, Bondi's team laid out the evidence. The first witness, an ICE field director, took the stand. "In your professional opinion," Bondi asked, "what did New York's refusal to honor detainer requests result in?" He replied, "Violent offenders remained free." "We lost track of several high-priority individuals. One ended up in a fentanyl trafficking ring in Pennsylvania." Bondi turned to the judge. "We'll submit location reports, surveillance logs, and emails proving New York knowingly suppressed ICE alerts." The courtroom buzzed. A whistleblower from the DMV followed. "My supervisor said, if it's flagged, override it. We don't cooperate with ICE here," he testified. Bondi nodded. "Did this affect individuals with criminal records?" "Yes, repeatedly." She clicked a remote, projecting a map, 18 cases of high-risk individuals whose flagged data was overridden, later arrested in other states for violent crimes. The judge called a recess. Headlines blazed, Bombshell testimony links New York DMV to criminal relocations. After the break, Bondi shifted to the money. A financial analyst revealed $6.2 million in community assistance grants redirected to unvetted nonprofits, $4 million paid to one whose founder had a 2017 asylum fraud charge. The state funneled taxpayer dollars to corrupt organizations, Bondi told the court, for the purpose of relocating dangerous individuals without federal approval. This isn't humanitarianism, it's laundering. Tammy Noble closed the day. Bondi approached her gently. Tammy, what do you want this courtroom to understand? Tammy steadied herself. That this didn't need to happen, that my daughter should be alive, that someone signed a form, ignored a warning, and chose politics over protection. Jurors wiped tears. Bondi ended quietly. This isn't about hate. It's about consequences. If the law doesn't matter, nothing does. By the fourth day, the mood shifted. Uncertainty gave way to anticipation. Bondi arrived with the composure of a woman delivering justice, not chasing it. We've shown obstruction and concealment, she told the court. Now we show collapse, not of policy, but of trust. She introduced Slack messages from Hochul's senior aides. ICE pinged him again. Same as always. Route to safe place shelter and scrub IDs. Governor doesn't want this in the headlines. Gasps rippled through. This isn't neglect, Bondi said. It's orchestration. A digital forensics expert confirmed the message's metadata, tying them to Deputy Chief of Staff Elaine Monroe, now running Safe Place, a nonprofit that received $2 million in relocation contracts. Revolving doors, Bondi remarked. A former aide to James testified, face tight with guilt. There was a list, federal detainer requests. We called it the Red File. It was shredded every week after review meetings. The judge halted proceedings. Are you confirming intentional destruction of federal records? Yes, Your Honor. The courtroom broke. Gasps, murmurs, jurors exchanging alarmed glances. Bondi pressed on. We have active concealment, a pattern of suppression and coordination at the highest levels. The defense argued it was circumstantial, mismanagement, not conspiracy. Bondi played a Zoom call, Hochul's voice. Just keep them moving. Don't let ICE establish a paper trail. If they land in Texas or Florida, that's not our issue. She turned to the jury. You've heard it yourselves. A direct order to avoid detection, to offload accountability, to treat federal law like a nuisance. She paused. When did serving your citizens become optional? That evening, Bondi's team issued subpoenas to 5 new state agencies and drafted arrest warrants. Obstruction had escalated to conspiracy. They'll say we overstepped, she told her deputy. Let them scream. It means they're losing. Outside, thousands gathered, protesters, families, reporters from 5 continents. A banner read, Justice for Kayla, Justice for All. The 5th day dawned tense. Bondi addressed the court. We've shown obstruction and concealment. Now we show collapse. She unveiled an organizational chart, the network of departments, nonprofits, and operatives enabling criminal migration under Compassion's banner. A former nonprofit finance director testified, I was told to reclassify payments as community outreach, but they were transport contracts for flagged individuals. Bondi asked, was one relocated under this contract flagged for aggravated assault? Yes. An ex-ICE agent said trails vanished, DMV logs gone, while Bondi showed Hochul's grants-funded relocations. Humane? She asked the jury. Kayla's killer was shielded. On day 6, James cried, "Theater!" Hochul claimed duty, but Bondi said, "Justice serves truth." The jury convicted them. Bondi's justice for Kayla set the Bondi Doctrine.